Okay, welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting on October 10th, 2024. The time is now 7:31 p.m. We are hybrid, Zoom, and the main meeting room at 8 Conway Street, South Deerfield, Mass. This meeting will be held in a hybrid fashion with the opportunity for both in-person attendance and remote participation. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. The meeting will be held in person in the main meeting room of the Deerfield Municipal Offices. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, anyone intending to record the meeting must identify themselves to the clerk and provide their name and address for the record. The remote meeting connection noted below, the dial-in number 312-626-6799. 929-205-6099 or 833-548-0276. There's a meeting.
Yeah, I don't think you have to bother with the link or the rest of that. I think you're good.
Okay, very good. Just to say, if you're online, please mute yourself unless asking a question or commenting. All attendees should wait to speak until other participants are finished. So I think that brings us to the agenda, the call to order, which I shall do. I hereby call the meeting to order. And we'll do a roll call. Start on the screen. Gabby?
Gabby Richard Harrington, present.
And Mark?
Mark Brennan, present.
Dave Sharp, present.
Laura?
Laura Pontani, present.
Tia Christensen, present.
And David Potter, present. So we are to approve the minutes, it says, from the 9/19 meeting. Will somebody offer
Motion
the-
to approve the minutes from the 9/19 meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Gabby. That was Mark with the motion and Gabby with the second.
Minor typo. That our zoning board of appeals members present. We haven't all burned up yet.
I do, yes. Yeah, I think we can accept and approve if needed, or what have you with that edit.
I'm sorry, what was the edit? I missed that.
Just on the zoning board of appeals members present, it says embers.
Okay, I will fix that.
And something else?
And then I think Dan Nitschy's also an alternate on that list of members present.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, people, no discussion, no questions. Let's go to a vote on the motion.
Point of order, you have a quorum here this evening, or are you having me vote? My question was a point of order. There is a quorum and whether or not an alternate vote was being requested.
Right, I think we do have a quorum of members. Right.
But for the, okay, you're talking about just this motion right now or for the main agenda?
For the evening.
For the evening?
My recollection was is that during our last meeting, you extended the invitation for the alternate because I'd been here from the past few weeks for me to go ahead and vote. even though there was a quorum, and then that it is up to the chair to establish that. If I recall correctly, is that correct, Amy?
Yes, I think it is, and I think because Tia's been part of the hearing, you might as well have her vote. She's been here from the beginning. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's for you, David, to
So I hereby appoint Tia to be a voting member of the party, the committee tonight. So we're all voting on the issues.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for clarifying for me. Tia Christensen, aye.
Laura Pontani, aye.
David Potter, aye.
Dave Sharp, aye.
Mark Brennan, aye.
Okay, so
Gabby Richard Harrington, aye.
oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. New business. I don't think we have any new business at this time. And so we're going to old business, which is to continue with our deliberation of the special permit for 1 Pecumtuck Drive, which has been continued. Notice is hereby given that the Deerfield Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Thursday, August 29th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. on an application filed by Barbara Clem for a special permit for property located at 1 Pecumtuck Drive, identified in the assessor's record as map 135, lot 5, to allow the operation of a bed and breakfast in the RA district as provided for in the zoning bylaws, chapter 179, section 2230. And so, it seems to me that we're in a position maybe to have a motion offered to approve the special permit, which will allow us to discuss it.
Can we have some time for questions about the documents we were just provided?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, so I read through what I was given this week, and I thought our main question was whether in fact the mother of the owner as an immediate family member qualifies as being this house then being owner occupied. And I feel like we got incredible clarification on other aspects of this, what constitutes an Airbnb and what constitutes the other kind of rental. I can't remember what it was called exactly. Auxiliary rental, whatever. But we never got anything in here. I didn't see anything qualifying, telling us whether this woman is being considered the owner of this house and as an owner occupied house. Did we get
So-
that, sir?
so that was the opinion you guys got before the last meeting.
Okay.
That is the same, that opinion was offered before the last meeting.
Okay, then I have one other clarifying question. It seems to make an issue on the page that says impact of property values on neighborhood, and there's another owner residency and concerns, and it talks quite a bit about whether this person will be present at the house when a renter is there so that she can serve breakfast. In all the things I've looked at, it doesn't say anywhere that an Airbnb or a bed and breakfast, the owner needs to be there to serve breakfast. I've been to plenty where the breakfast was left for me and I had to heat it up in a microwave or whatever. So if that is part of our reasoning, I would like to know.
I'm confused, Gabby. When you say part of our reasoning, are you just saying that that's some?
I mean, we're saying that the owner, the person that, so Mrs. Clem needs to be present, according to what I'm reading here. The thought is that she needs to be present to actually serve breakfast. And I'm asking if that's anything we'd agreed to, because I've never seen that being stipulated in any other bed and breakfast, that the owner or anybody needs to be there to serve breakfast. And I don't want that to hold this back if that's an issue. I want to discuss that before we vote.
I guess I was just asking you where you're seeing that as some kind of
Um,
regulation, or whether you're saying that's,
should the applicant no longer reside at the property, what assurances are there that the bed and breakfast or more likely a short-term rental would not be operated in her absence? The current regulations do not require the proprietor to be on site overnight, significantly increasing the likelihood that this property could be used as an Airbnb rather than a traditional bed and breakfast. Having short-term renters without the resident on site poses possible problems detailed below. So it's making it sound like she needs to be there to actually serve breakfast. And I'm saying, I don't think that's a requirement of a bed and breakfast.
Is
Right,
that in one of
but
the letters? from
Gabby,
someone?
Yes.
I
Oh,
think-
okay.
On page 2, I don't know, they're all numbered differently. I can't really give
Okay,
you,
Gabby and members, my preference would be to take a motion to approve this special permit, in which case, Gabby, we are
Yeah.
then to discuss all of the issues and try to come to some basis for making our votes
okay, I'm
after
fine
our
with that.
discussion. So I'm not sure why we shouldn't enter
Okay.
into the motion and why we should have any kind of pre-discussion. A
Okay.
discussion will ensue.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yep.
So is somebody able to offer a motion?
I was, yeah.
that's okay.
I have a long written motion for the purposes of discussion that has all of the typical restrictions and stuff. Should I read that whole thing, or should I just make a motion for the purpose of discussion and amend it, for discussion and amend it later?
I think you should make a motion that we get this thing on the table. and start
Yeah,
discussing.
that's,
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve a special permit, for the purposes of discussion.
I'll second that.
okay. So, Gabby, did you want to continue with your thinking, or did you feel like you got an appropriate response there?
I think I got an appropriate response there. Thank you.
Okay, Mark.
So I think really what we need to figure out as a board right now is what the definition of a owner-occupied bed and breakfast is. We have, you know, plenty of information, I think, to support either one of those decisions. You know, the way I see it is we've got the plain language definition that one of the residents has brought up in multiple meetings, which is very clear. And then we also have kind of like the spirit of the bylaw, which is basically a lot of communities have a bylaw with an owner-occupied stipulation to make sure that a hotel owner or innkeeper doesn't hang their keys up at the end of the night or turn them over to the night auditor and then go home for the day. That's my interpretation of what the spirit of this is. So one, I think, could very well argue that while Ms. Clem is not necessarily the owner on the deed, that, you know, she is providing that owner-occupied function of staying there on the premises for the majority of the time and not hanging up her keys. So we have a lot of other stuff, you know, that we would naturally want to discuss, but I think that that should be where we start, you know, that definition, because that pretty much, you know, either starts or stops the rest of the discussion, I think.
So I'll follow on that. While there is a simple definition of owner, right, or owner occupied, I think it's also pretty clear that the Deerfield bylaws didn't really go ahead and add some further definition to that.
Right.
But what was illustrative to me is I just looked at a couple of other towns. For instance, just in East Hampton nearby, in their definitions in the back, they have a definition of owner, and of course it's a little broader. So their definition of owner is the duly authorized agent, attorney, purchaser, devisee, trustee, lessee, or any person having vested or equitable interest in the use, structure, or lot in question. So clearly that goes beyond what some people may think of as a dictionary definition of owner, and maybe.
I'm sorry, David, into the microphone, please.
I'm just saying that
I heard most of it, but please keep it a
Sure.
little closer would help.
Thank
just
you.
saying that the definition one might find in a dictionary is a little different than what people tend to sometimes put in their zoning bylaws. And I think that probably echoes Mark's sense of what the sentiment would be for a bed and breakfast owner occupied. And then I found, and actually I don't want you all to think I was really hunting these down. They actually came pretty quickly. By, quick Google search of owner occupied Massachusetts zoning laws. So in Nahant, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is a town right near Boston, they actually have a definition of owner occupied short-term rental. And that also has the term principal residence of its operator. So it says the short-term rental of a dwelling unit of no more than the number of lawful bedrooms within such dwelling unit that is the principal residence of its operator. So I'm just sort of putting that out there, as Mark, you just touched on that too, as the definition of owner can be quite a bit broader. And I think we should just touch on it. We all agree that the deed restriction language is not relevant anymore
Yeah,
Mhm.
I would agree there.
Mhm.
Yep.
after a legal opinion that was given on that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
I also think, as it pertains to owner occupied, I think, if we were to, as a town, want to exclude anyone but the person who actually owns the home, I have a tendency to think that that definition would be narrower. So, given that, it's not a narrow definition, I think that could be, a somewhat broader definition, like David had brought up for East Hampton and that other community. I would think that unless we make it more narrow, if this is, principally being used as Miss Helm's home, she, in my opinion, would probably fit the definition of owner occupied. I'm not sure where everyone else nets on that, but
Yeah,
I think we have
well,
to-
I think that, we do have that, documentation that Barbara is acting as the owner, living there full time, paying taxes, paying utilities. So in that sense, fitting, I think, comfortably within that broader definition of owner occupied.
So perhaps, and not to be pushy or move the meeting along at all, but is there anybody on the committee who believes that the owner language is a bar to the applicant having a bed and breakfast? And if so, maybe speak up. If not, then we could maybe move on to other parts of our discussion.
No, I have no concerns.
So Mark, you started off with saying that was the first barrier, so maybe we'll just turn it back to you to.
Yeah. Go for it.
Well, the next one I think would have to be, some of the typical, concerns outlined for the zoning board. So, things like considering whether or not there's going to be an adverse impact to the town, change of the look and feel of the neighborhood, things like, the speed of the road, whether or not there's going to be a fire risk there, those things that were brought up. As it pertains to the fire risk, I don't think that, well, I shouldn't say I don't think, this particular road is not in some sort of special overlay district where people are not allowed to burn. I think that MGL covers, burning laws pretty well, as it pertains to open and closed, burning. I also had an opportunity to walk down Pecumtuck Drive, saw the residence and the yard from the road itself, and it looked like a very well manicured area. It was very open and clear compared to many of the other houses that are there. So I don't really think that there's a risk of putting out any sort of insect repelling candles or having like a closed pit or anything like that. I also looked at the traffic pattern on 2 different days. I drove down, twice. I didn't really see much for traffic. There were some concerns about the condition of the road. The road looked like it was very well paved. It looks like it may have been freshly paved within the last couple of years, so I'm not really seeing anything in terms of the road or changing the neighborhood or anything that would really raise any concerns for me. The burning thing doesn't raise any concerns. Also, Deerfield does have a huge shortage of rental space, short-term rental space or lodging, especially during like the DA Parents Weekend and certain times of the year. I had a chance to talk with someone who also does something similar in town, and she was telling me that most of the people that she rents out to, and it's like she averages between like 35, 38 rentals a year. It's almost exclusively people going to either historic Deerfield or one of the schools. So I think overall this would have a positive impact on the town, and I don't really think that there's anything specific about what Ms. Clem's doing that, raises any concerns for me. Oh, I also got to see the driveway from the road as well. I think it could easily handle parking for both rooms. It appears as though there would be more than enough parking, off-street parking for this.
Anybody else have any comments on that? I think, there is our list of criteria for the special permit that it may be worth reviewing and just,
Yeah, I have a a draft in front of me with all of that included for a motion, so I could amend the motion after we're done reviewing that if we want to add all that stuff in.
so it's on page 91 of my book. That's 5,300, the special permits. 5315, this is the criteria,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
right, for judging a special permit. And there'll be in our packets, in past packets, Barbara's responses to this. And so if people have any concerns with this list, it's information that's already been shared if you want a couple of minutes to look back at anything. But 5320, I'm sorry, 5320 is the summation of all of that, 5321, 22, 23 through 29. So the social, economic, or community needs served by the proposal, the traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading, the adequacy of utilities and other public services, the neighborhood character and social structures, impact on the natural environment, potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax base, and employment, adequacy of town capacity to serve the premises, considering existing roads, town equipment, and other municipal services and resources, impacts on adjoining premises from water, air, noise, or light pollution, and other disturbances is avoided or minimized, and avoid or minimize topographic change, removal of mature trees or other botanical assets, removal of cover vegetation, risk of erosion or siltation, increased stormwater runoff from the site, or displacement of natural habitats. Does anybody have any questions further, any comments on how the proposed permit would be in accordance with these criteria?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, we're ready to take a vote.
May I amend my
Oh,
motion
yeah,
first?
please.
So I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. I would like to make a motion for a special permit that is non-transferable, no overnight off-street parking allowed for guests, maximum occupancy of 2 people per room, maximum of 2 rooms total, length of stay limit of 60 days. Applicant will allow access with prior notice to the Deerfield Board of Health and South Deerfield Fire District to inspect premises at will. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits, licenses, and other approval from any board, commission, official, or other agency or agent of the town of Deerfield, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and/or federal government. The decision shall be recorded at the Franklin County Registry of Deeds. The applicant shall not expand the building footprint, violation of any condition contained herein, or failure to comply with the approved plan shall be subject to application to a zoning enforcement action in accordance with the remedies set in forth of MGL Chapter 40A. Applicant will bear the cost of any subsequent peer review triggered by any of the changes noted above.
A question about the no more than 2 people per room, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So, back in the day, traveling with my wife, with a young child, we couldn't stay at this B&B?
You would probably have to just use the other room. I think are there 2 rooms total?
I'm sorry, can you speak into the microphone? We can't hear you.
I'd be happy to amend it to 3 per room. I'm not really hooked up on the room.
I mean, 2
You could
adults,
say 2 adults.
Okay, yeah, I'll amend it to 2 adults then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can you also repeat what you said about the parking, please?
Yeah, I just said no overnight off-street parking. So off-street, so
no,
the cars would have to be in the
There's plenty
driveway.
of
In the driveway. Okay, got it.
So I'll amend it to 2 adults.
No overnight on-street parking?
Correct. No overnight on-street parking.
So it sounds like a lot of that language came from some of the conditions that have been set before.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions on the amendment? So that means
We need a second.
that would be good.
Second,
All right.
Gabby.
Gabby? So let's take a vote on that motion. Gabby?
Aye.
Mark?
Mark Brennan, aye.
Dave Sharp, aye.
Tia Christensen, I.
Laura?
Laura Pontani, aye.
David Potter? Aye. So that
Got it written up for everyone. Yeah.
that grants the special permit.
no.
Okay. There's some paperwork to follow. Okay. It was included a number of conditions which were read quickly, but it would be helpful to go over them carefully. I think the most important is the first one, that it's not transferable. Was that not that this is for you only?
Right, that's obvious.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we reviewed that many
That
times.
doesn't go with the house.
Right.
Right.
No.
Okay. All right.
We have a hand raised.
Oh,
I don't know if we're doing public comment right now, but
It's actually not a comment. It's something you guys said originally that I didn't hear in it. You had mentioned that you were gonna I remember, and I forget if he's the building inspector or whatever, he said he was gonna do an initial inspection with the 2 exits thing. Was that part of it?
in the motion, we had said that the Deerfield Board of Health and the Springfield Fire District will inspect the premises at will. So this actually does not include the building inspector, but
Or whoever it was, whoever does that.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I think it would be the fire department would be concerned with the egress. Yeah, so that was in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the paperwork is not here to my knowledge. That I think we need to develop that and let you know to come back in and sign that. And then
yeah. So I will write up the decision and then David will have you sign it. And that's so I'll let you know when I have that ready for you.
okay, all right, that sounds good. Thank you very much.
All of you for taking all that time.
Most welcome.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Okay. So moving on to other business. It seems that we don't have other business. Well, there is further agenda items. which could be construed as other business. It's in the nature of discussion, standard conditions draft, which I believe you were just exposed to by Mark incorporating it into the actual motion language. But oh, here, you might have had it printed for you. If not, it will be shared with you. But this is, I think
It should be, it's in the back of your,
in the back of the very.
It's the
packet,
final page of the
last
packet.
page.
yeah, a final page, and it's actually, Mark had a lot of things that were specific to the bed and breakfast. This is what I'm putting out, just as very boilerplate that applies to almost anything. And just, you're just sort of agreeing that, you know, approve it. I don't even know if you need to make a motion, but it's just generally if you want to have this as your general language, and that way you can sort of just throw it in when you're approving things that don't need other special, more restrictive. It's just to make sure we get something into each decision that has these very basic tenets that I think we probably want to include in pretty much every decision.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think there may be others, right? In addition to these, this isn't the sum total, right?
No, so like I said, these are the ones that pretty much apply to everything. I tend to look at things, and David, you and I can sort of going into something develop depending on, you know, people can think of conditions they might want to put on something, obviously, when they're hearing, but like I said, I just like having these as sort of very basic boilerplate that you can just sort of, you know, have at your ready for the simpler things, and then you can add whatever else is needed depending on the situation.
Yeah, I think we all seem to be in favor of this.
Mm.
And, if not, we can argue at each moment, the next meeting, you know, whatever, whatever we need to. If something doesn't feel appropriate, you want to, you know, there's nothing that says that we have to apply these as written every time. I think
What's the thinking behind the 24 month? That seems like a long time to allow something to sort of not get done. I mean, a lot of things change in 2 years. Is that something standard, Amy, or something?
I quoted that, trying to think, I took this from something that was pretty standard, but yeah, I mean, you can say 12, you know, if you want to, if you're more comfortable with it being a year, and then we can ask them, does it ask them to come before? I haven't looked at this in a while because I wrote it so long ago.
The reapplication.
Yeah, they have to reapply. Yeah, so I think if you're more comfortable with making it a year, I'll just change that to
But
1
no, you're right,
year.
too. I mean, I was just throwing it out there. Now that I think about it, I'm sort of struck by the bed and breakfast, obviously. But if many special permits involve construction, then I guess I do understand that construction can take a while, you know, if you haven't come to the hearing with your contractor and everything all set. But it just seems like a lot happens in 24 months. That
Yeah.
may, for some reason, change. I mean, if they
Yeah.
haven't. But I don't know, it just struck me, that's all. Obviously,
Okay, yeah, if you want to change it sort of a base of 12, and then, you know, if, again, if there's a reason you think it might need to be longer, then you can always amend it. Like I said, this is nothing written in stone. It's just sort of you guys generally agreeing that this is, you know, a boilerplate.
Yeah.
I mean, people invest quite a bit of money when they set up something like this. It seems like if you're only going to give them a permit for a year, they may not even make back their money in a year. 2 years sounds more reasonable to me.
It's, I think, Abby, it's not about how long the permit lasts. It's about they have to do the work needed to begin.
Oh, okay, got it.
Project, that's all.
yeah.
It's number 6, failure of project to be completed within 24 months of the date of decision will require the applicant to reapply for a special permit.
Okay,
I'm just thinking if somebody comes before the committee and they don't get organized for
got it.
a year and 10 months, you know, a lot can change. But maybe not, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain contractors that are booked out a year, depending on what we do. If someone wants to, I don't know, build a house and then, their driveway has to go in front of the conservation commission.
yeah.
There's a lot of places where
Yeah.
this could get caught up.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just leave it. I just was
Okay.
thinking out loud.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then the next thing is the adoption of deadlines for submitted material.
That comes up, when, this has happened with the planning board. You have something coming up, a hearing that has been continued, or maybe a hearing, and suddenly the applicant drops a bunch of documents on you, 5 hours before the meeting.
Mhm.
And that it's not enough time to consider them. So they just adopted a formal deadline that, if something was going to be discussed at a hearing, it needed to be submitted like 3 days ahead. You might, you might want to say maybe 48 hours or 48 hours before the meeting, just so that, like I said, it just sort of helps ensure that applicants get things to you in a timely manner so that you have enough time to consider something before you open or reopen a hearing.
Yeah, I think 48 hours or 2 business days.
Yeah, I think 2 business days would be a good. And if you just adopt that, if somebody wants to make a motion to adopt that formally, we can make sure that applicants know that.
All right, I'll make a motion that applicants for our committee submit their deadlines 2 business days ahead of the scheduled meeting.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Questions, comments? All right, let's go to a vote. Thea?
Tia Christensen, I.
Laura Pontani, aye.
David Potter, aye.
Dave Sharp, aye.
Mark Brennan, aye.
Gabby Richard Harrington, aye.
All right, we have adopted. Will you pass me that? I think there may, the whole big folder, yeah. There may be mail. Amy, is that a thing?
No, that's just the folder. That's just got a lot of junk in it. Sorry, I need to organize it, but sometimes
Yeah.
if you need to look up something for reference, it might be in there.
Okay, but no mail.
Nope, no mail.
Business not reasonably anticipated within 48 hours of posting. So we're up to the upcoming meeting will be November 21st. Do people want to check calendars for that?
I'm free.
I don't need a late start anymore at that point in the fall, if everybody
Sounds
wants to go back to 6:30.
But that means a conflict with the space.
Okay,
Is that true,
Uh,
maybe?
No, I don't think so. And I think, again, we'll see if there's a submission. I mean, you may or may not want to meet, but let's hold that open. And you can decide, David, you're the chair, you can decide, if there is no submission, you can decide if you want to have the
Sure.
meeting or not.
Okay, so we'll put it as a question mark.
So
Mhm.
6:30?
6:30? Is that, Good.
6:30 works.
okay, 6:30. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Tia Christensen, I.
Laura Pontani, aye.
David Potter, aye.
Dave Sharp, aye.
Mark Brennan, aye.
Gabby Richard Harrington, aye.
All right, good night.